Hello then, welcome to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku and these are the top stories. 40 district heads, palace council members pledge allegiance to Emir Sanusi. Government speaks on intimidation over Emir Sanusi's reinstatement. Opposition lawmakers want Tinubu's government to stir up Kano Emirate crisis. Peter Obi replies Atiku discloses only condition that would make him agree to a measure. Also, Binance and the court's lawyer discloses sickness that may kill Binance executive Gambarian in Kuje Correctional Center. Former President Obasanjo slams Tinubu's fuel subsidy removal and exchange rate policies. And President Tinubu lists benefits of Lagos-Calabar coastal road amidst concerns. Details now. The World News at 12 begins with the 16th Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, on Sunday, presiding over the first Emirate Council meeting of district heads and senior traditional council members at the Gidan Rumfa Palace. Sanusi finally assumed the superior responsibility of the Emirate by presiding over the maiden edition of the expanded council meeting after his reinstatement on Friday by Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf. With no fewer than 40 district heads and significant figures among the senior council members renewing their allegiance to the new emir, the raging tension around the emirship in the state has finally fizzled out. Upon taking up residence in the palace, the district heads and council members prostrated themselves before him, signifying their official endorsement of his position as the rightful emir of Kano. Notable among those that paid homage were the 5 kingmakers, including Madaki Wali, Makama Sarikimbai, and Sarikin Dawaki Maituta. Others included Waziri, Turaki, Sarikin Shanu, Damburan, Dan Isa, Dan Lawan, Dan Amaru, Magajin Gari, Dan Majin, Dan Kade, Matawale, Sarikin Fulanin Jendanawa, Magajin Malam, Dokaji, and Dandarman Kano. The remaining were Marafa, Dalatu, Magajin Rafi, Sarikin Fada, Bunun Bora, Dan Madamin, Dan Galadima, Tarba, Santuraka, Dan Guriba, Dan Maliki, Faliki, Fuyerima, Baraya, Zana, Yandaka, Fagachi, Damasani, and Wakilim Baradan Kano. The emir subsequently met with several interest groups, including the vigilante women organizations, private individuals, and well-wishers who had gathered at the palace to show their respects and loyalty. Prior to the council meeting, Emir Sanusi, who was greeted with admiration and jubilation, emerged in grand style on a white royal horse from his inner palace in the famous Gidan Rumfa, acknowledging warm greetings from his subjects. Meanwhile, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf's government of Kano State has stated that it will not bow to any form of intimidation following its decision to dissolve the 5 emirates and reinstate Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II. You do know that a series of dramatic events have been unfolding in Kano since Governor Yusuf sacked 5 emirs in the state and consented to a bill which allowed the Kano Emirate Council to reinstate the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Sanusi II, as emir. The developments have caused tension in the state, with security operatives positioned at strategic areas to maintain law and order as the emirship tussle continues. While addressing newsmen in Kano over the weekend, the state deputy governor Aminu Gwazo maintained that the government could not be intimidated regarding its decision, stressing that all actions were decided through a legal process. In the same vein, too, the situation in Kano and its emirate tussle, the governor of Kano State, Abba Kabir Yusuf, has stated that it will not follow suit with any other interference. Also, federal lawmakers from different political parties under the aegis of G60 urged the federal government to steer clear of the emirate tussle in Kano State. The tussle has pitched the dethroned emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, and the reinstated emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, and their supporters against one another, causing tension in the ancient city. Reacting to the crisis over the weekend, the lawmakers asked the federal government not to destabilize the relative peace in Kano by interfering in the emirate tussle. In a statement jointly signed by Obi Agwocha of the Labour Party and Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, the People's Democratic Party, the lawmakers said the emirate appointment is internal and within the purview of the Kano government authority. The lawmakers also called on on the federal government to allow the 16th Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, to reign peacefully without any interference. And away from the Kano Emirate tussle to the proposed measure between Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has given conditions that would make him agree to a measure between his party and the People's Democratic Party ahead of the 2027 elections. Peter Obi stated that he would only enter into a measure with any party or individual if it serves the greater good of Nigeria. The former Anambra State Governor disclosed this during an interview with Noir TV at the weekend. Reacting to a statement by the presidential candidate of the PDP and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on the likelihood of a merger between both parties, Peter Obi insisted that an alliance must be focused on improving governance and helping the poor, not just winning elections or for state capture. Peter Obi said, and I quote, "I commend Atiku for his statement, especially when he said he will support me if it goes to the southeast. On the issue of a merger and the coming together of parties, I have always said that as long as any merger or any coming together is to better Nigeria and for governing properly, I am for it. If it is just a merger for election or state capture, I am not for it. I am not desperate to be president. I am desperate to see Nigeria work, especially for the poor, because we have a lot of potential. So, if the measure is to be able to govern Nigeria properly on all those things that will make Nigeria a better place, I am for it. If the measure is to be able to govern Nigeria properly and work for all those things that will make things work, I am for it. It might be at the party level, it might be at the individual level, or at any level. We must come together to be able to build a better Nigeria." End quote. In another development, a law firm, Aluko and Oyebode, representing Binance Holdings Limited, has warned that the cryptocurrency firm's executive on trial with the company has warned that the cryptocurrencies firm's executive on trial with the company in Nigeria, Tigran Gambarian, may die in Kuje Correctional Center. The firm expressed its concerns in a letter addressed to the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court and signed by partner C.J. Caleb. Caleb stated that Gambarian, the head of financial crimes compliance for the cryptocurrency platform, collapsed in prison on Wednesday, May 22, and received intravenous IV treatment for malaria from the medical staff. You would also recall that the detained executive of Binance, Gambarian, slumped in court due to alleged ill health. This incident occurred shortly after Justice Emeka Nwite called the matter for trial continuation. Consequently, the lawyer raised concerns over Gambarian's prolonged remand in the correctional facility, citing fears for his life and his allegedly deteriorating health. Caleb mentioned that the defendant also suffered from a throat infection, adding that the Kuje Medium Correctional Facility is currently undergoing renovation. He stated that given these circumstances, they humbly request that the applicant be transferred to Nizayime Hospital in Abuja to receive a comprehensive diagnosis and treatment to preserve his life. Also, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has criticized President Bola Tinubu's economic policies on fuel subsidy removal and exchange rates, calling them necessary but poorly implemented. He urged the government to adopt consistent and transparent policies to restore investor confidence and drive Nigeria's economic growth. Obasanjo's review came during a speech at the Paul Aje Colloquium in Abuja, focusing on Nigeria's economic crisis and insecurity. Obasanjo pinpointed three critical areas where he believes Tinubu's administration has faltered: the removal of fuel subsidies, the unification of exchange rates, and the handling of the military coup in Niger Republic. He argued that while these policies are crucial, their mismanagement has exacerbated economic hardships for Nigerians. He also highlighted the consequences of the misapplied policies. Obasanjo noted that multinational corporations like Total Energy have opted to invest in other African countries such as Angola, bypassing Nigeria due to perceived instability and lack of investor confidence. He stressed the need for consistency, continuity, and transparency in government and government policies to foster a conducive environment for investment. Obasanjo also critiqued the government's intervention in Niger Republic's political turmoil, suggesting that it distracts from addressing domestic economic issues. He called for a shift from transactional to transformational leadership, advocating for a government that acts as a catalyst for development, growth, and progress. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recently emphasized that the Lagos-Calabar coastal road construction will yield benefits beyond imagination. You'll recall that President Tinubu officially flagged off the construction of the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar coastal highway project on Sunday. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony, he addressed the audience about the 700-kilometer highway project at Ahmadu Bello Way, Victoria Island, Lagos. The president also authorized the simultaneous start of construction at the highway's Cross River and Akwa Ibom ends. President Tinubu declared himself a happy man and celebrated the day as his moment to boast, downplaying concerns about the project and accentuating its capacity to offer the country hope and a prosperous future. The president said, and I quote, "During the period of construction, the road will provide direct employment to thousands of people and indirect employment to tens of thousands of artisans and more. Economic opportunities for millions are being opened. It will fast-track community development. It will bring development closer to the people and give about 30 million people improved access to production and marketing centers." He emphasized that the project will support the growth of Nigeria's maritime sector, especially following the UN's extension of the country's continental shelf, urging the nation to capitalize on this opportunity and prioritize the creation of additional export processing zones along coastal states. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into more news, and our news analysis segment will actually have, joining me via the telephone, Are Oladotun Hassan, who is the NBA Secretary Ekpe branch, to respond to some questions on the news or stories on the news at 12. Do stay with us.
are tuned to the city's #1 super dial, Voice of the People, 90.3 FM, Lagos.
All right, welcome back. This is still the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. It's now time for a news analysis segment. I was trying to contact Barrister Ariel Ladotun Hassan, but he wasn't picking. So I'm trying to connect with Barrister Darlington to help answer or respond to some questions that will be posed at him at this moment. I don't know if it's the network, because the conversation has already been heard, or rather has already been had, concerning this particular interview for the World News at 12. And while we await that particular phone call to connect, let's head into other stories where the Kano state government recently appealed to President Tinubu to move the deposed 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, out of the state. The state government insists that the Bayero's continued stay in the state constitutes a threat to the peace and stability of the peace-loving people of Kano. The deputy governor of the state, Comrade Aminu Abdusalam, stated this on Monday. Ariel Ladotun Hassan, wow, you really gave me that particular hot, supposedly, attack. What happened? Hello?
Maybe the network.
No, it was ringing. You were not picking. However, thank you for joining me. Quickly, let's start off with this proposed measure between the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Peter Obi has finally responded as to the condition given for the proposed measure between, the PDP and Labour Party. According to him, he said it doesn't matter what form the measure would take place. He's not desperate to become a president in 2027. He's all about inclusion and national cohesion. In fact, one of the statements he made in regards to eventually speaking up on the proposed measure that Atiku Abubakar had said 2 weeks ago, Obi said that he commends Atiku's statement and that he doesn't also disapprove the likelihood of a measure between both parties, but he's insisting that the alliance must be focused on improving governance and helping the poor, not just winning elections for state capture. So do you think this statement is a strong strategy ahead of 2027? What's your take?
Well, on a realistic basis, Peter Obi needs to be very strict and he needs to stay with himself, because the article I know and preference to his interest, which ultimately comes forth in any discussion. We've had this scenario during the last PDP's primary, whereby the party was initially zoning the party to the ticket to the southern region, only for him to doing the party, left some people down and took over, which led to the balkanization of the party. And if Peter Obi is very ready to be a vice, he should go there as his interest. If there's going to be merger,
what you're saying, according to you, you're saying that if he wants to come straight, he should come straight forward and say, okay, I'm in for the merger. Are you saying he is not being direct? Are you saying that his statement his response is politically or just being diplomatic? He's not, being straightforward?
Politicians, you always speak like politicians, no matter which side of the divide. I'm only trying to relate what will be at the end of the day, because I don't see this smooth ride of merger because of conflict of interest. Because conflict of interest have most of the time destroyed the import of that matter.
What's the conflict of interest you see here? Because the Obedience have said that regardless, wherever it is he goes, they're going along with him. So where does the conflict of interest come in here?
To be realistically speaking, I've just related to you that the article I know will not step down his interest in 2027. He has treated his interest in the BBC Hausa, whereby he stated categorically that he will continuously want to run if given the opportunity on the platform of the PDP. However, if Peter Obi stays on his cloud of political mileage, seems comfortable to work closely with Atiku, definitely there might be an agreement for a 1-year term and for Atiku to want to go, because there is no way, politically speaking, that Atiku will come and fight Peter Obi.
Alright, I don't know if you knew about the fact that Atiku spoke last week. He's saying he doesn't mind any measure, so long as if the party decides to actually pick Peter Obi. If the party, at this time around, we don't know what party. If Peter Obi either decides to join the PDP or if there's going to be a merger, we don't know what name of that merger is going to be. But according to him, if they both find themselves to be in the same political party and the party members actually pick Peter Obi, he doesn't mind stepping down. He doesn't mind supporting him. That's basically what he said. This was what set the tone throughout last week. So he has actually explained that he is in with whatever it is that comes up from the conversation they had the last time. So in other words, the conflict of interest you're stating here is not necessarily what it is. But Peter Obi had not responded ever since that meeting was held. He's officially speaking now, and his response is saying that he doesn't have any issue with the proposed measure so long as it's all about the interests of Nigerians, not out of desperation to clinch that seat in 2027.
Yes, politicians always put the interest of Nigeria as their pivot of campaign. But I'm only trying to let you know, because in a scenario whereby it falls short of what we are expecting, because what I'm just trying to advise is the fact that in view of the merger between Labour Party, PDP, or New Nigerian People Party, or however they might want to merge together, what we're looking at is the fact that they should not make it a Royal Rumble situation. It's better Peter Obi has come forward that, it's not about his personal interest. But I know politicians for who they are. When it comes to fighting for tickets, it doesn't come like that cheap. And I'm just so concerned that except Peter Obi have to look beyond and see more. And that's why I see the conflict of interest coming in. So there must surely be conflict, irrespective of how it's going to be. We just have to foresee how it's going to be. But what I'm expecting is the fact that it will be too, they can be having an alliances of conversation. But talking about merger at this period is a bit too early for one of them to conclude where the pendulum will swing.
Okay, let's just say we've officially heard his response. Let's head on to the flag off during the weekend. I don't know if you knew that Lagos was a little bit unexpectedly, some routes were, blocked because of that. That it actually affected movement, and a couple of Nigerians or Lagosians were not happy with that development. However, the successful flag off of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway took place during the weekend, and the president addressed the press on Sunday. One of the things he said that he declared himself a happy man and celebrated the day as his moment to boast, emphasizing the fact that this is a major project that will provide millions of job opportunities for a lot of Nigerians. But we know that there have been concerns about this Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the fact that properties were destroyed, properties that ought not to have been destroyed if they had stuck onto the original mapping. But with the president's reaction or statement yesterday, he paid no heed to the concerns, to the clamor, to the outcry of a lot of, business owners or persons who were affected by the demolition exercise that took place ahead of commissioning this Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. So how would you describe the president's, expression towards in the flag off on Sunday? And would you say the president does not understand that Nigerians are actually not happy with how things started off with that Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project?
Well, admittedly, you understand that I've always been an advocate of the social justice right of the people within the corridor of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. And I was on one of your sister stations, Arise, to comment on this issue.
No, Arise is not a sister station. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's not a sister station. It's an independent station on its own. Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I raised it categorically that there was no proper planning at the issue.
Okay.
And it was as a result of that lack of due diligence that led to the horrid demolition of some part of Landmark Beach, some part of the building. At the end of the day, they've shifted that now to the original alignment, which has always been my argument, that you cannot shift the goalpost, especially when there is a lawful legal basis. And thankfully that the government has been able to come rightly to walk along that corridor.
Okay.
Yes, it's a mixed bag of reaction. But the fact that some people are not happy that there will not be demolition of their communities, I want to reiterate aptly to the federal government that Landmark must be adequately compensated for that demolition, and proper records of apology must be stated, because that's where I expect Mr. President to be more a man, to apologize to them, not just telling them to bear the pains and assuring of compensation. Some people were brutally wounded, and they need to be calmed, they need to be called back, and they need to be reassured that it's about the democracy and not about self-interest. But I want to equally acknowledge that project will be one of the big projects of this administration. And I pray that they are able to round up this project extensively, at least making up 70% of the project before their the end of their tenure.
All right, Ariel Adoto Hassan, during the commencement, when this project was about to commence, quite a lot of netizens, analysts like yourself, critiqued the president's relationship with Chaguri. But in this particular flag off, he commended Chaguri, the owner of High Tech. He commended them for, and he and of course Dangote for most of the projects they've been able to complete along Lagos State and other highways across the Federation. But then there have been the dispute of, or rather, oh wow, the area has actually gone off. I wanted to actually ask him how he feels or what his response will be to the president's relationship with Chaguri concerning the fact that there are quite a lot of back and forth as to the discrepancies with Chaguri and the fact that they feel that it's an autonomous decision, possibly because of the relationship the president has with him, whereby the contract wasn't bidded for. But we have a program, Area Matter, coming up as soon as possible. So let's just say that'll be a wrap up on that particular conversation. But however, let's take a look once again at the top stories. You heard 40 district heads, palace council members pledge allegiance to Emir Sanusi. Also, government speaks on intimidation over Emir Sanusi's reinstatement. Opposition lawmakers want Tinubu's government to stir off Kano Emirate crisis. Peter Obi replies Atiku discloses only condition that will make him agree to a merger. Also, lawyer discloses sickness that may kill Binance executive Gambarian in Kuje Correctional Center. Former President Obasanjo slams Tinubu's fuel subsidy removal and exchange rate policies. Finally, Tinubu lists benefits of Lagos Calabar Coastal Road amidst concerns. That's a wrap on the world news at 12. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Up next is Area Matter.